Ryan, today let's cover down payment assistance programs. So, what is down payment assistance? What is covered? What kind of interest rate comes with that type of loan? Are there any local programs like a grant? And then, what are the repayment options for down payment assistance?
Yes, I'm so glad we're covering this because there is something called the down payment misconception. And that's this prevailing idea that you need 20% down to purchase a home. Now, back in the 60s and 70s, yes, this was true. So a lot of us, we're still hearing what our grandparents were saying, talking about 20% down because that's how they bought their house. But this just is not true anymore. With the invention of mortgage insurance and government programs like FHA, first-time homebuyers could get into a home with as little as 3% down. And best of all, as you're saying, Dana, you could use down payment assistance to cover this 3%. Now, the programs that are available, they do depend on where you're buying. For example, Dana and I are here in Arizona, and there's a number of local down payment assistance programs, funded by the counties. For example, they're called Home and Five, Home Plus, Arizona is Home. These programs are great. We always try to start with these because the rates are competitive, and these are grants that don't always have to be paid back. But the downside is there's income restrictions. So if you make too much, you might not qualify. And this is the worst of all, is the funds, they actually run out for these programs. So for example, earlier this year, these programs, they were paused because the funds haven't been replenished yet, and they need to be before we could use them again. But the good news is there's a large amount of banks out there that have their own down payment assistance programs. And these programs, they don't have income restrictions. And best of all, they don't run out of funds. At Your Best Mortgage or Company, we're approved with a dozen of these. And, we offer all these programs with all these companies. But the way they work is the assistance is given as a second mortgage. So if you need 3% down and the 3% is given to you as an assistance, it's basically you're buying, let's just say a $400,000 home, you'll get a second mortgage for $12,000 in this case. So, there's a rate and a payment for this assistance. For example, like if you do 12,000, about $110 payment would be how much you would pay on this. And the other drawback is, the first mortgage, the rate is a little bit higher than if you put your own money down. But because there's no prepayment penalties and you could pay off the mortgage at any time, the goal is to refinance as rates come down. So what we want to do is the goal would be to pay off the first and the second and to lower your mortgage payment with a better rate. So it's a win-win, really. So these programs really are fantastic, and our buyers are using them quite often. So if you're wanting to buy, but just don't have the funds saved for a down payment, don't let that stop you. These assistance programs are available.
And right, what type of income restrictions are there on these programs?
Fortunately, with the ones with the private banks that we have, there are no income restrictions. They're only with the county programs.
Okay.
Typically, for a family of two or three, it's usually in about the 110 range for the local programs, but no restrictions on these private programs.
Fantastic. And yes, our clients use this all the time, you guys. So again, reach out with any questions. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you as always, Ryan. We will see you guys next week.
Thank you.